So fitness is, I mean, we're kind of like in a second or third fitness craze, I think, in the United States, as far as like a widespread craze. I think the first like historical one was in the 80s and stuff, and um, there's a lot of just ineffective crap circling around for commercial commercial reasons. Mainly it's mainly commercial, and I think there's like some political stuff tied in there, like, oh, if you take my supplements, you'll raise your testosterone through the roof and beat back the Marxist globalists, blah blah blah. It's got little to do with like what's like factual, like actions that are based in fact and stuff. um so I have a guide here that works for most people and stuff. There's so many genetic exceptions, and uh, but um, it, and there's lots of other medical exceptions too. I'm going to start off with this by saying respect your medical limit. Discomfort is okay. Certain types of pain are not, and stuff. Um, so yeah, because this guide gets intense sometimes with what it tells you to do, but the stuff works and stuff. Um, Basically, this program is about maximizing the work put on the muscle without doing too much work, too much micro tearing and stuff, um, and dealing with the implications of that and stuff. Um, a lot of this stuff is going to look weird, but it works. Okay. Um, I've used it a few times with great results. But yeah. Um, so yeah, these are the essential pillars of what an ideal workout routine is, and everything, and enough things surrounding that workout routine. Okay. Um, One, not resting during workout and high activity and stuff. Now, a lot of people will tell you to pause between sets and stuff for anabolic reasons. You don't want to do that. It's going to drop your metabolism. Okay. Um, Slower, like having a really fast metabolism, that's actually a good thing and stuff. It means you can think better and stuff. Um, we can talk about how heart rate is tied to lifespan and stuff, but I don't think anybody's metabolism is that fast. Okay, except for certain cases like extreme hyperthyroidism and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, if you need to catch wind, drink water or use a restroom, or even do some small tiny snacking. Because the thing about snacking is that you can initiate a gastric response, which messes up all of this psychophysiology and stuff. It can mess with your focus, and having undigested food in your stomach when you work out really does tax you, and it puts distress on the body and stuff. You really don't want to do that. You can cause yourself long-term indigestion with that. Um, yeah, but the needs of the body are not monochronistic and stuff. You gotta be attentive to how you feel and stuff. Incorporated cardio, yeah, one of the foundations of the best physique possible is a really strong, solid cardio stuff. You should be able to run many miles a day without a problem. You know, um, of course, like I've said in previous videos and stuff, if your heart is overactive or too dominant and stuff, it's going to mess with your thinking and stuff. You want to find the fine balance. Um, so, understand different kinds of hungry and tired. Okay, there's many kinds of hungry. There's many kinds of tired and stuff. Um, a lot of hunger is just the body's chemistry shifting to avoid developing the gut stuff. It's just avoiding all this extra insulin activity that's trying to like grow your intestines and make your limbs waste away and stuff. It's not good. And for that reason, you want to control carbs. You don't want to eliminate or have a small amount of carbs, but you want to control them and stuff. Um, Carbs make up a good portion of your brain and nerves and stuff, and or sorry, peripheral nervous system. So they're very important. Um, I don't know about the brain though, but it definitely makes a good portion of your peripheral nervous system. And time under tension. Yeah, this is actually a concept from Kai Green that he mentioned. Kai Green achieved amazing things in fitness. Um, Now, is bodybuilding really the best idea? No, not really. But you know, he uh, he really lays it out really well and stuff. The amount of time your muscle spends under tension while you're doing a full rep and stuff is what makes all the difference and stuff. So if you find that like you're losing tension at the top of the rep, that could be gains you're not getting and stuff. You find you're losing tension at the bottom, that could be gains you're not ready. And so you know, so but we'll get into that more. Um, Oh yeah, putting in the growth signal and stuff. When you're micro tearing and stuff, you're sending an anabolic signal. It's not the only way to send an anabolic signal. Anytime you tell your muscle that you're regularly going to be lifting something that's heavier than it is developed and stuff, it's going to send an anabolic signal to your body, and that muscle will grow and stuff. Like I said before, the mind and the body, they adapt and rise. They adapt, they rise and fall to the occasions you put them through and stuff. So so you don't want a one rep max and stuff that could end up spraining or tearing a muscle pretty easily and stuff. Obviously, um, you don't want to use such rapid and violent motions and stuff, but you want to micro load it and just go just above your limit. So every week, maybe even every day, or whatever, you're adding a little bit more and stuff. Maybe every 2 weeks, whatever it is. Um, but if you find that you're not making gains and stuff, you got to fix your biochemistry and stuff. You got to make sure you're creating and taking and uptaking enough androgens and stuff like that. Um, Androgens, especially DHT, are very crucial for building muscle and stuff. You want a lot of DHT. Especially DHT is a very anabolic hormone. It's a wonderful thing, and it's naturally produced in your body. How about that? It converts from testosterone into a version that's several times stronger. Isn't that wonderful? And it improves your memory, your social outcomes and stuff, and blah blah blah. Um, yeah, a person could be stupidly strong on DHT. So, muscle confusion. You confuse the muscle by putting it through new motions and stuff all the time. You're working it no less and stuff, but you're giving different kinds of work so that muscle rounds off, and the dormant areas of the muscle that don't really get signals and stuff are growing and stuff. Um, and it's going to help even out the androgen receptor distribution as well, so you get a nice response. Stick with the science, of course. Yeah, yeah. Those science-based lifters, they got it and stuff. Perfect example of a science-based lifter, Frank Zane. He had little to no genetic advantage, but he ended up outlifting a lot of bigger guys and stuff. And he had a great physique. He ended up, he completed college degree and an associate's degree in chemistry too and stuff. And he's just remained. Mike Mentzer as well was also very scientific, more of like a personal science, practical science sort of a guy, I think. But um, he definitely, yeah. And they were probably banging some pretty hot chicks too. Let's be real. I mean, like not that this is what this is about, but like they really made it happen because it was science and stuff. You know, the personal science process of wrapping the information and stuff to the problem surface and internals and stuff to make sure everything about this system is clear. Um, Mix in some sports. Yeah, if any, like the thing about sports activity and stuff is it sends like a combat physical stress signal to your body and stuff, which raises your androgens even more and stuff. And you kind of avoid the kind of low mood that might come with like lots of isolated workouts and stuff. Yeah, aerobic and anaerobic training, of course, and stuff. You know, improving your O2 economy, of course, it's going to help you and stuff. Muscles love oxygen. Prepare for and expect violence. Yeah, when you're at a gym or playing sports and stuff, it tends to magnetize violence and the violent types. That's just how they are. Like, it's just how it is. You should prepare for and expect it and stuff. Which kind of makes reason why like this kind of training is important, that I'm going to be talking about. Vegetarian or vegan diet focused on brain or diet and medical limits and stuff. Some people can't have a vegetarian or vegan diet for genetic reasons or because they have a certain medical condition. Um, and that this idea doesn't work for them. But um, But these diets are powerhouse diets. You're getting clean nutrients and very high density and stuff, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing. Athletes who eat a vegetarian or vegan diet consistently get better results than athletes who don't and stuff. Um, it it's definitely better for mental function and life outcomes too. Um, and it's good for your overall health too. You know, many kinds of workouts. Yes, there's many kinds of workouts. Though you want to stick to mainly calisthenics and free weights. This is where you really get in shape, honestly, and where of course you deal with like the possible violence aspect and stuff. Um, yeah. Though of course when it comes to those bigger people and stuff, you don't want to let them grab you. And so once they grab you, you know, you don't necessarily get out of their grip. It's not fun. It's not a fun time. Fast and slow twitch workouts. Yeah, the slow twitch muscles actually grow in response to endurance activity. This is why high volume training tends to gain you more mass and stuff. You could take advantage of that and stuff. Um, the safe way to work the fast twitch muscles, calisthenics and free weights and stuff. If you if um if you think there's a real risk with using the free weights and stuff, you know, or the resistance bands, resistance bands actually work really well. So do awkward loads. Awkward loads really work well too. Uh, Calisthenics has a nice self-limiting property to it. You don't really tear anything, sprain anything doing it and stuff. Um, the body's just it tends to be very good with its own weight. So yeah, you can use that um, to exercise fast twitch and stuff. Um, the, adding weights to your body for that really enhances that as well. You get strong really quick like that, and you don't lose any athleticism either. So that's good. Prioritizing weakness. So, the weak areas of your body, the the areas that struggle during the bottom part of the reps and stuff, and the areas that tend to lag behind. Um, you want to prioritize those. Um, the hands, the feet, you know. Um, again, I talked about how the hands play a role in in the power of the brain as well too. So you want to have strong hands and stuff, strong fingers, and all the strong finger muscles. Um, nutrition and rest. Um, yeah, most of the results you get actually come from your nutrition and rest because that's where your biochemistry changes. Your biochemistry influences a lot more than the type of workouts you do and stuff. This is why steroids work so incredibly well. Um, though I would never tell anybody to use those unless it was medically necessary, because steroids usually have unpredictable effects and mess with your psychology and stuff. You don't want it. You really don't want any of that. Winstrol, trenbolone, um, testosterone, propionate, and stuff. Like, yeah, you can just you could just don't mess with that stuff. Um, mental endurance. Yeah, you gotta be ready to sweat it out and stuff. Um, if you can comfortably work out for like 2 hours, then you're doing pretty good in the stamina department and stuff. And but um, yeah, but you got to be able to work through the pain and I don't want to do it and I don't feel like it, or whatever that you go through. People go through a lot of stuff when they work out and stuff, but you got to push through it. Strict but dynamic, evolving, improving program. Yeah, your program has to be strict, but it has to be dynamic, evolving, and improving. So as you discover better workouts that work new muscles or whatever, or work muscles in a different way, you should definitely incorporate them in and drop and kind of drop the weakest workout and stuff for that area or overall. Um, sweat buckets and bust your ass every fresh session. That means a lot of compound movements too. Yeah, for sure. Um, if anything drinks up calories is compound movements, and it also sends a huge anabolic signal to your body as well for your bones, muscles, your nerves, everything. It's great. Um, light workouts during rest periods. Yeah, like if you're having a rest day, just use that day to like work out lighter and stuff. You do some um, not too hard cardio. You just kind of like keep the muscles active and stimulated, and yeah, because the day after you're probably gonna be not so sore, but if you're very sore, you can just sleep more and eat if you want to. That works. Um, though your metabolism can drop from that stuff, so you wanna, yeah. Thorough massage and stretch. This is a game changer. This not only absolutely changes around how strong you are, but it changes around your blood circulation by a huge factor, your lymphatic circulation and stuff. And your muscles, they recover a lot faster too, partially for that reason. Um, Stay 100% hygienic. Nothing kills or gains more than pathogens. If your body is fighting off an infection, forget it. Like, so yeah, you should keep soap with you, or a towel to wipe it off. Like, if your gym has a sink with a soap dispenser and water or something, you could lather that towel up and stuff and wipe yourself off and squeeze off the water and stuff. You know, Definitely keep yourself clean while you're working out. Um, though that soap probably has endocrine disruptors, so you really want to keep that off your skin. Um, Avoid cheap quality supplements. You get proven stuff free of adulterants and contaminants. Avoid stuff in plastic containers as much as possible. You want to favor the USDA organic. Yeah, by law, for something to have a USDA organic label and stuff, um, the the 70% of the ingredients have to be organic, or more than 70% by law. And I mean, of course, a lot of supplements have certification. Um, Like for example, if you buy Shilajit and um, there's like a lab certification of purity and stuff, that's good. That's a good sign. Um, Ideally, you you want it. Of course, you don't want things in plastic containers if you can avoid it. Um, Wipe excreted toxins off your skin during workout. Yeah, when you sweat, your body's going to release toxins and stuff. To avoid absorbing those back in, you want to just wipe the sweat off and stuff. You take some soap, so wipe it off. I know it's probably going to look weird. If you need to wipe your crotch, whatever, just go in the bathroom and stuff. Give yourself like a towel bath and then go to the sink and whatever. Like trust me, um, it's it's going to do you a lot of good. Otherwise, your body's just going to keep resorbing and sweating and resorbing. Like it's yeah. Natural rest periods. Yeah, you know, wake up at a natural time. Sleep and try to make yourself go to sleep early if you can. Speed, not acceleration and stuff. Acceleration is how you injure things and stuff. But speed, keeping that constant pace, is not. Um, but change of pace is going to be necessary. Um, because you don't want your muscles to fall into like a routine thing. Um, Calisthenics, minimal bar exercises. Just don't try to use bars too much. Um, and you know, real free weights like dumbbells, kettlebells, and stuff. Training every muscle. Yep, this is huge for um, gaining overall strength and everything, and anabolic signaling. Supplementation, yeah, of course. Um, Medical limits, yeah, respect your medical limits. Avoid PD and SARM use. Um, yeah, unpredictable side effects ruins personality, and yeah, potential ligament or tendon tearing. So a lot of those supplements build muscles very quickly. They don't build your tendons and ligaments very quickly, so you can really hurt yourself. Um, don't stuff your stomach. Yeah, doesn't need to be said. This is stuffing your stomach is a bodybuilding thing. You don't want to do that. So bodybuilding is not a smart thing to do. Um, no fat for men. It works. In 7 days you're going to have like 100% increase in testosterone, and some studies say that you're gonna have a higher baseline testosterone with free testosterone and stuff. So that helps. Um, Mental exercise alters the ability to use complex body movements, encourages muscle separate. Oh, and of course you're going to avoid elevated prolactin as well. Um, it's yeah, prolactin tends to relax the muscles, make you weaker and stuff. Um, yeah, if you're fapping and stuff, gooning, don't do it. Don't do it. It's okay. It's okay to have somebody else do it to you and stuff. Probably like you might need that, but don't do it yourself. It's so easy for a person to just fall into doing it like multiple times a day and stuff, and just never turn back and stuff. I discovered no fat um in two, for on my own, 2009, I think, or 2008, and consistently it works. Okay. Um, it is it's just the absolute. It's just a godsend, basically. It's wonderful. Um, so mental exercise, yeah, it actually alters your ability to use complex body movements, encourages muscle separation, reflecting interpersonality and physique. Um, yeah, it definitely does. The weird thing is that the image of your body reflects what's in your mind and stuff. Like, because a lot of how our body persists in form and develops depends on the signals coming from the brain and stuff. But when the brain realizes that it also has to do hard mental labor and stuff, it starts to separate the muscles. Weird, right? Um, Precise loading. Now, and I'm not saying that in the immediate sense, okay? I'm not saying like this, like in immediate stages. I know a lot of people think like that because they want to, like, sort of artificially um, fabricate a counter argument and stuff, but I've got too much knowledge and experience in this stuff. I've read 12 books on fitness and nutrition and stuff, and I've been working out on and off since I was 14. Okay? Yeah. Precise loading. Okay? Yeah, you want to like increase your weights by like 1 pound, 2 pounds, 5 pounds if you can. And so if you're shocking that muscle, you can go higher. But again, like if you're picking up that weight and you're losing stability or losing form and stuff, to any degree, that's a sign that you've got too much and stuff. Because you just need to make sure that fiber extends all the way and extracts all the way and stuff. You don't want to risk spraining something to make yourself weaker and stuff. Because with those sprains, you might lose gains. Okay. Um, Strict form with full range of motion. Um, yeah. And by the way, if you're pressing or pulling with a bent wrist and stuff, that better be intentional because you're gonna find out that there's gonna be issues. If you find yourself needing to bench press and stuff, though you should be dumbbell pressing instead. Um, but then again, I don't advocate workouts where you're lying down and stuff. You should just do weighted push-ups instead. Um, then uh, you really want to keep those wrists straight. Okay, like like this, like where the back of the hand is like flush. You know. Um, yeah. You recover much better that way, and you send a much better anabolic signal and stuff. When your wrists are bent, you're actually shutting off muscle in the forearm and stuff, which overloads and stuff. If you the thumb over grip is called the suicide grip for a reason. You don't want to do that and stuff. Grip like this with your thumbs like this, straight wrist, and use less weight and stuff. Focus on contracting that muscle and making that muscle work and stuff. Don't bounce the weight and stuff. Move the weight with the muscle and stuff. Contract. You know, that's anabolic signaling. You know, and it's because it's the type of anabolic signaling that makes the muscle stronger, not just bigger and stuff. The bodybuilding stuff is so focused around pump and stuff, and you know you don't want to mess with your fascia like that. Like they try to stretch the fascia and stuff, but your fascia has nerves, blood vessels, and stuff. You really don't want to mess with that. And just focus on contracting the muscle and stuff and letting the body know like, hey, the fascia is going to have to adapt. You have to give your body time to get used to this sort of stuff. um, know where all of your muscles are. You have, I think it's about like 320 muscles in the human body or something like that stuff. You have to know where all of them are, and it helps you exercise them more. And it helps you realize like what needs work and why and stuff. um, Most emphasis on most dormant or lagging areas, yeah, of course. And 670 nanometer red light therapy, electrostim. Maybe vitamin injections. I don't know. I'm trying to think what else is practical for. Oh yeah. know there's probably a few more things, but I don't want to use up too much time and stuff. I got other things to do. I've been doing this for 25 minutes, and I'll be damned if this channel turns into a fucking fitness channel. Okay, those. Oh yeah, avoid. Yeah, most of these channels don't really like. A lot of the people who run these channels haven't really done the reading and the practice to know. Um, I'm pretty sure I was outlifting them when I was 17 too, so there's that.